The howl came from nowhere and everywhere at once, tearing through the fog-soaked English moors like something ripping fabric. Not a wolf. Not a dog. Too deep. Too deliberate. It rolled low, vibrating in the chest, the kind of sound that makes livestock freeze and grown men forget how to breathe. The shepherd heard it first at exactly 3:17 a.m., standing alone where the mist clung thick enough to choke the moon, and in that moment he knew, without seeing anything, that something ancient had lifted its head and called out across worlds. The air turned heavy, wet, wrong. The fog didn't move naturally anymore. It recoiled as if making room for something massive passing through it. When the howl ended, the silence that followed was worse, absolute, pressing, predatory. Miles away, across an ocean, under a rain-blackened American sky, a trucker slammed on his brakes as the same howl cut through the storm. Same pitch, same length, same hunger. His headlights carved through the rain and caught nothing but an empty road, yet his mirrors fogged from the inside, breath blooming though he hadn't exhaled. His engine stalled. The rain slowed. And in that unnatural pause he heard claws, slow, patient, scraping against asphalt behind him. He didn't turn. Every instinct screamed not to look. People who look don't scream. They disappear. Back on the moors, the shepherd ran. When dawn finally dragged itself over the hills, they found him alive but hollow, eyes wide, hair white, lips cracked from whispering the same sentence over and over. It wasn't hunting me, it was guarding something. Behind him, pressed deep into the wet earth, were tracks no animal should make, paws larger than a man's chest, fused with something like hooves, burned into the soil as if the ground itself had tried and failed to reject them. This is how it always begins. Not with an attack, not with blood, but with a sound, a signal, a warning that a forbidden gate has shifted and the guardians have been summoned. Hellhounds, demon dogs, shadow beasts older than churches and older than names. When they howl, it means something has crossed where it shouldn't have, or something is about to. And once the howl exists, once it reaches human ears, it's already too late. The dogs are awake. The gates are no longer sealed. And whatever stands between the living and the dead is no longer empty. They don't tell you this in churches. They never did. Death was never a door that opened on its own. It was a gate, sealed, watched, enforced. Long before religions learned how to lie gently, occult doctrine spoke plainly. Nothing passes between worlds without permission, and permission is never given freely. Across burned manuscripts, forbidden grimoires, and oral warnings whispered in monasteries and backwoods cabins, the same truth repeats. Gates exist in thin places, and they must be guarded, because humans are not meant to wander through what waits beyond. These gates don't glow. They don't announce themselves. They hide in loneliness. Fog-choked moors where the earth sinks under your feet. Rain-soaked American highways where headlights stretch too far into nothing. Old crossroads. Abandoned churches. Forest clearings where animals refuse to enter. The doctrine states that when death grows impatient, during wars, plagues, massacres, rituals, the gates weaken. They breathe. And when they do, the guardians are released. The demon dogs are not summoned. They are activated, bound to the gate itself, fused to its purpose, older than the languages used to describe them. Their bodies are not flesh in the way ours is. They are thresholds given form, muscle wrapped around law, teeth shaped like consequences. They do not chase for sport. They do not kill for hunger. They exist to prevent contamination. Souls escaping. Humans trespassing. Things returning that should remain buried beneath layers of reality. Occult texts warn of the first sign, sound distortion. A howl that travels impossibly far, crossing geography, time, even sleep. The second sign, stillness. Wind dies. Rain slows. Insects vanish. The world holds its breath because the gate has opened a fraction, and the dogs have taken their positions. This is why witnesses describe the same details across centuries. Glowing eyes in fog, chains dragging without a source, breath steaming in summer heat. These are not hallucinations. They are security systems engaging. And here is the part that turns the stomach. The doctrine makes it clear that the dogs are not protecting us. They are protecting what lies beyond from us. Humanity is the threat. Curiosity, ritual, the desperate urge to knock where we were never meant to enter. When someone performs the wrong rite, digs in the wrong place, stands too long at the edge of the world thinking they are alone, the dogs emerge. Silent, patient, watching from just outside the light. This is why people vanish without struggle. This is why bodies are found untouched, faces frozen in understanding rather than fear. They didn't die fighting. They died realizing the truth too late, that death has borders, that the borders are enforced, and that something ancient, massive, and merciless has been standing guard the entire time. The howl you heard wasn't a threat. It was protocol. The gate shifted, and the guardians stepped forward. They call him Black Shuck, but that name is a mercy humans invented to survive speaking about him. In the old records, he is never called a dog. He is referred to as the judge that walks, the thing released when the Moors decide a boundary has been violated. He appears where fog never lifts, where the land itself seems exhausted from holding secrets too long. East Anglia, Suffolk, Norfolk, places where the earth remembers death. Witnesses never agree on his size, and that's the first warning. Some say he's as large as a calf. Others swear he stood taller than a man at the shoulder. But every account agrees on the eye. One eye only. Burning. Singular. Not glowing like fire, but lit from somewhere deeper, as if it's looking back at a place humans are not allowed to see. When that eye fixes on you, judgment has already been passed. Black Shuck does not chase. He waits. Church records from the 1500s describe him entering sanctuaries during storms, padding silently down aisles as thunder splits the roof. In Blithburgh Church, 2 people dropped dead instantly when he passed between them. No wounds, no blood, just life extinguished like a candle pinched between fingers. Others survived the encounter, but survival came twisted. Hair turned white overnight. Spines bent. Minds fractured. People aged decades and hours, as if time itself had been forced through them violently. The doctrine says Black Shuck appears when a gate is tampered with, not opened. When someone lingers too long near death, grave robbers, oath breakers, those who mock burial rites or disturb the sealed earth. He is not executioner. He is accountant. He measures what you've stolen from the balance and decides how much must be taken back. Sometimes that's your life. Sometimes it's something worse, your future. On the moors, livestock are found untouched but drained, eyes clouded, mouths frozen open as if they saw him coming and couldn't scream. Dogs refuse to bark in areas where Shuck has walked. Horses bolt. Compasses fail. Locals know better than to follow the prints, because the tracks don't always lead forward. Sometimes they circle. Sometimes they stop abruptly, as if the ground itself ended. Modern sightings haven't stopped. Drivers report a massive black shape pacing their cars just beyond the headlights, matching speed, never falling behind. Then it vanishes, and days later, someone connected to that road dies. A crash. A sudden illness. Black Shuck doesn't kill immediately. He marks. Once marked, the judgment unfolds naturally, invisibly, inevitably. Occult scholars agree on one thing. Black Shuck is stationed at old gates, places used so often by the dead that the boundary thinned permanently. He is not evil. He is lawful. And that makes him far more dangerous. There is no bargaining with him. No prayer that alters his decision. When his eye finds you in the fog, he is not angry. He is disappointed. And when Black Shuck turns away and fades back into the mist, it means the sentence has already been delivered. You just haven't reached the end of it yet. They bury the first body to protect the rest. That's how the doctrine explains it. When a church is raised on fresh ground, when the soil has never tasted the dead, something must be fed to the earth before the living dare worship above it. In the oldest rites, the offering was not human. It was a dog. Blackford. Loyal. Killed and buried beneath the foundation stones while the prayers were still wet in the mouth. And when the soil closed over it, something else rose in its place. They call it the Church Grim. It does not roam like Black Shuck. It does not judge from afar. The Church Grim is bound, nailed to consecrated ground, fused to grave soil and bone. It is the eater of burials, the warden of the dead, the thing that ensures no soul claws its way back up once the earth closes. Where it walks, graves settle unnaturally fast. Coffins rot quicker than they should. And at night, when rain soaks the headstones and the world feels thin, it circles beneath the ground, listening. Grave diggers know the signs. Tools go missing. Lanterns snuff themselves out. Freshly dug graves collapse inward as if something below pulled the soil down greedily. Some swear they've heard breathing beneath their boots, slow, patient, enormous. The doctrine warns that the Church Grim feeds not on flesh, but on departure. It consumes the moment a soul leaves the body, absorbing it like heat. That's why cemeteries guarded by a Grim are quiet. No whispers, no ghosts, nothing escapes. But when burial rites are violated, when graves are robbed, bodies moved, rituals interrupted, the Grim rises. Not fully, never fully. Witnesses describe a shape dragging itself through mist, half shadow, half form, eyes burning low and dim like coals buried in ash. Its fur is always wet, always clotted with soil, always smelling of rot and rain. And its mouth is wrong. Too wide, too patient, as if it has been opened for centuries, waiting for something specific. In England, monks recorded sightings of the Grim pacing churchyards during storms, seen only from the corner of the eye. In the American Appalachians, people report black dogs sitting silently atop graves during funerals, motionless, unblinking, vanishing the moment the coffin is lowered. Those who meet its gaze during a burial don't die immediately. They linger. But every case ends the same way. Sudden illness, wasting dreams of suffocation, the sensation of soil pressing down on the chest while still alive. The darkest warning is this: the Church Grim does not only guard the dead, it counts the living. Occult texts suggest it memorizes faces at every burial, noting who stands too close, who watches too long, who feels curiosity instead of grief. Those names are added to a silent ledger kept beneath the church floor. And when the balance tips, when too many souls strain against the ground, the Grim collects early. This is why old churches feel heavy, why the air presses on your lungs, why some graveyards make children cry for no reason. The Grim is listening, boys, waiting for the sound of disturbed earth, unfinished prayers, or footsteps lingering after midnight. And if you ever hear growling from beneath a grave while standing alone in the rain, understand this: the burial is not complete, and the Church Grim is hungry. They say the road is safest when you're not alone. The doctrine laughs at that. Some guardians don't stand at gates or graves. They travel, slipping into your shadow when the night is long and the rain makes everything reflective and wrong. This is where the Cadejo appears. Not one creature, but a division of death itself, split clean down the middle. There are two Cadejos. Every record agrees on this, and every record disagrees on which one you see first. The white Cadejo comes quietly. Its fur glows faintly under moonlight, clean, almost comforting. It keeps its distance, walking just ahead or just behind, always within sight. Travelers feel calmer when it appears. Less afraid. Less alone. That's the trap. The doctrine states plainly, the white Cadejo is not protection. It is permission. In rain-soaked American backroads, truckers report seeing it pacing them beyond the headlights, never splashed by water, never slowing. In old Central American accounts, drunk men followed it home and were never seen again. Their bodies, when found, showed no wounds, just eyes burned black from the inside, mouths open as if they tried to scream after realizing the truth. The white Cadejo does not kill. It leads. It guides the soul to the exact point where the boundary thins enough to be crossed without resistance. Then there is the black Cadejo. It does not walk beside you. It waits ahead. You don't notice it at first because it absorbs light instead of reflecting it. Its fur is matte darkness, swallowing rain, swallowing sound. You never hear its steps. When it lifts its head, its eyes don't glow, they open like wounds in reality. Every account describes the same sensation: legs turning heavy, thoughts slowing, memories slipping away mid-step. This is not fear. This is your body recognizing finality. The doctrine calls the black Cadejo the closer. When a soul has been led too far, when a human has crossed without realizing it, the black Cadejo appears to seal the error. It does not chase. It does not growl. It simply steps into the road, blocking the way forward and backward at the same time. Survivors, few and unreliable, say the world folds inward when it stands there, like the night itself bending to accommodate its presence. What makes the Cadejo worse than the other guardians is its intimacy. It chooses the exhausted, the drunk, the grieving, those driving too long in the rain, those walking home with their heads down, those whispering wishes they shouldn't. It listens. It adapts. It mirrors what you need to see until the moment you realize the road no longer belongs to the living. Occult warnings insist on one rule above all others: never follow a dog that does not leave footprints. The Cadejo never does. It floats just enough above the ground to avoid belonging to it. Those who notice this too late feel a sudden pressure behind their eyes, like hands pushing from the inside, and then, nothing. No struggle. No violence. Just absence. When people vanish on empty roads, when cars are found idling in the rain with doors open and no sign of a fight, the doctrine offers no mystery. The white Cadejo led them. The black Cadejo finished it. The gate closed cleanly behind them. And somewhere down that same road, in the same storm, the Cadejo keeps walking, split shadow intact, waiting for the next lonely traveler to mistake company for safety. Chains are supposed to make sound. That's the first thing the doctrine makes clear. Metal announces itself. It warns. It gives you time. Garmr's chains do not. They vibrate through bone, not air, rattling somewhere behind the eyes long before you hear anything with your ears. When that vibration starts, it means a gate has been stressed too far, and something enormous has begun to move. Garmr is not a wanderer. He is anchored, bound at the deepest threshold, where death stops being a passage and becomes a pit. Ancient Norse texts describe him lying beneath layers of earth and ice, mouth already open, waiting. His chains were forged not to restrain him forever, but to delay the moment of release. The doctrine says each mass death, war, plague, ritual slaughter, files those chains thinner. Every scream weakens them. Every body feeds the pressure. The first sign is environmental. Temperature drops without reason. Breath fogs in summer. Animals flee in coordinated panic. In modern sightings, abandoned factories, frozen forests, derelict industrial zones, people report hearing a low grinding hum, like iron dragged slowly across stone far underground. Not loud. Persistent. The sound of something testing its limits. Then comes the presence. Witnesses describe the ground bowing inward, as if gravity itself leans toward Garmr. Lights flicker and fail. Phones die instantly. In one recorded incident near a collapsed mine, security footage shows shadows stretching unnaturally long, snapping toward a single point off camera. That point was never visible, but the screams were sudden, cut off mid-breath. When Garmr manifests, he does not arrive fully. What pushes through first is his mouth. Too wide. Split further than anatomy allows. Lined with teeth worn flat from chewing chains for centuries. His breath rolls out like winter, carrying the smell of rust, rot, and something older than soil. Eyes follow next, twin pits glowing dully, not with fire, but with endurance. Garmr does not burn. He waits out existence. The doctrine labels him the fail-safe. When gates rupture violently, when too many souls push through at once, Garmr is unleashed to reset the balance. He does not guard individuals. He corrects events. Entire locations go silent after his passing. No ghosts. No echoes. Just emptiness. like a space that was forcibly wiped clean. The most terrifying accounts describe the moment the chains finally break. There is no dramatic snap, no explosion, just a sudden absence of resistance, followed by movement so massive it bends perception. People collapse, clutching their chests, convinced the earth itself has stood up beneath them. Some survive, but every survivor reports the same final image burned into their mind. Garmr turning his head slightly, as if listening for something else to fail. Because Garmr is not the end. He is what happens when the system breaks. When the other demon dogs are no longer enough. When death overflows its borders and demands enforcement on a scale humans were never meant to witness. If you hear chains where there should be none, if the ground seems to hum beneath your feet, do not run. Running means the chains are already gone. And Garmr is standing. There are demon dogs the occult dares to describe, and then there are the Unnamed Wardens. 3 of them. Always 3. Never recorded with titles, never illustrated, never spoken aloud more than once in the same place. The doctrine is explicit here, written in margins, scratched into stone, half-burned in monasteries that later collapsed for no recorded reason. To name them is to invite them to listen. Unlike the others, these wardens do not guard known gates. They stand watch over passages that were never meant to be found, fault lines in reality itself. Not death as humans understand it, but deeper exits, madness, oblivion, return. Each is worse than the last. The first warden is sensed, not seen. Witnesses describe an overwhelming pressure behind the eyes, a sudden inability to finish thoughts. Words decay mid-sentence. Time stutters. People near its gate begin forgetting simple things. Names, faces, the reason they came. This dog does not chase. It unravels. By the time you realize something is wrong, your mind has already crossed the boundary it was guarding. Those who vanish near its territory leave behind journals filled with sentences that trail off, forever unfinished. The second warden is felt in the body. A crushing heaviness. Bones aching as if pulled downward by unseen gravity. Animals refuse to move. Fires die instantly. Those who encounter this dog report seeing a massive shape crouch just beyond perception, its outline flickering like a corrupted image. This is the gate of oblivion. Nothing returns intact from here. Not souls. Not memories. Entire histories have gone silent around places it guards, villages erased, roads removed from maps, tragedies no one remembers happening. And then there is the third. The doctrine does not explain it. It pleads about it. This warden guards the return, the gate through which things try to come back. Not ghosts. Not the dead. Something older. Something that remembers the world before humans learned to bury their mistakes. When this dog stirs, shadows behave incorrectly. Reflections lag. Voices echo before words are spoken. Witnesses describe seeing a shape with too many joints, eyes opening in places eyes should never exist, its form never settling into one outline. Looking at it feels like being watched by the future. Occultists who attempted to document the Unnamed Wardens didn't die dramatically. They simply stopped existing in the historical record. Their names vanish from registries. Their work is never found. Even their graves go missing. It is as if the dogs didn't kill them, they corrected them. The doctrine's final warning regarding the Unnamed Wardens is written larger than any other passage, often followed by bloodstains and torn pages. If you find a gate you do not recognize, leave immediately. Do not observe. Do not record. Do not think you are chosen. The dogs assigned to those gates do not hunt souls. They hunt errors. Sometimes. The error is you. When the Unnamed Wardens move, there is no howl. No chains. No omen. The world simply edits itself around their presence, removing whatever no longer belongs. And once they have finished, there will be no evidence they were ever there, except the silence, and the feeling that something enormous is still watching, making sure it doesn't have to come back. Crossing the gate does not feel dramatic. There is no flash, no tearing sound, No moment where you realize you've made a mistake. That's the lie that keeps people walking forward. The doctrine is clear. The gate does not announce itself. You cross it while thinking you're still safe, still human, still alive in the way that matters. The first thing that breaks is time. Seconds stretch like wet skin. Minutes collapse into nothing. Survivors, if they can even be called that, describe losing hours while taking a single step, then suddenly finding themselves miles away with no memory of how they got there. Watches stop. Phones show impossible timestamps. Some come back before they left. Others arrive after their own deaths have already been recorded. Then the body reacts. Breathing becomes manual, like your lungs forgot their purpose. The air feels thick, gelatinous, resisting every inhale. Your heartbeat goes out of rhythm, not faster or slower, wrong. People clutch their chests, convinced something has slipped out of alignment inside them. And they're right. The doctrine states that the human body is calibrated for one side of the gate only. On the other side, organs begin to disagree with reality. Memory follows next. Not loss, corruption. Faces you love distort. Voices sound unfamiliar. Childhood moments replay incorrectly, with details you don't remember adding themselves in. Some return unable to recognize their own reflection, because the reflection hesitates, like it's deciding whether to mirror you or not. This is when the dogs usually appear, not to attack, but to observe, to decide if correction is required. Those who linger too long begin to experience shadow displacement. Their shadows detach slightly, moving a fraction of a second late. Then a full second. Then independently. This is a known prelude to erasure. The doctrine marks this stage in red ink across multiple cultures. When the shadow learns freedom, the body has already been claimed. And then there are the ones who come back speaking. Not screaming. Not raving. Speaking calmly. Describing places with no edges. Skies that curve inward. Fields of bone ground into dust so fine it floats like snow. They talk about structures that breathe and corridors that lead nowhere on purpose. They insist something noticed them, not as prey, not as threat, but as material. Most of these witnesses die within days. The rest stop sleeping, because every time they close their eyes, they hear claws pacing just beyond the gate, waiting for them to finish crossing. The worst cases are the returners who are physically intact but spiritually displaced. They cast no presence. Animals ignore them. Cameras glitch when pointed at them. They leave no impression on rooms, no warmth behind. The doctrine says these people did not escape. They were released, temporarily, to maintain balance. A loan that will be collected. Every culture that discovered the gates reached the same conclusion independently. Crossing does not grant knowledge, power, or enlightenment. It results in misalignment. You no longer belong fully to either side. And the dogs, patient, tireless, exist to resolve that problem. So if you ever feel the air thicken, if your shadow hesitates, if the night feels curved instead of dark, do not step forward. Do not look back. Do not wait. Because once you cross the gate, the question is no longer whether you will return. It's whether the demon dogs will allow you to remain. The gates are thinning. They have always been thinning, but now, everywhere, fog-choked moors in England, rain-soaked highways in America, abandoned graveyards, forgotten crossroads, the signs are multiplying. The demon dogs are moving closer, not waiting for trespassers. They are hunting opportunity. Black Shuck, the Church Grim, the Cadejo, Garmr, the Unnamed Wardens, all of them alive in the world, patient, eternal, and watching. Listen closely. When you hear claws scraping behind the walls of your home, when shadows stretch wrong, when silence presses down like water, understand this. It is already too late. The gates are awake. The guardians are awake. And the dogs do not judge mercy. They enforce inevitability. You cannot hide. You cannot bargain. You cannot reason. The doctrine is merciless. Curiosity, grief, foolish bravery, any of these alone are enough to mark you. And once marked, you belong to the gates. The dogs will follow. Boys. Patiently. Silently. If you think you can hear a low growl in the distance, you are not imagining it. They are coming. And even now, across the moors, the forests, and the rain-soaked roads, something watches your every move. Remember this warning, and remember the sound of the howl. Do not linger where the gates breathe. Do not step where the dogs wait. And never, ever think you are alone. If you survived this story, if your skin is still crawling and your heart still racing, subscribe to Occultic Abyss. We journey deeper into the darkness, where even the bravest souls fear to tread. The abyss is vast, the stories are endless, and the guardian dogs are always hungry. Because in the end, every gate demands a witness, and every witness is counted.